Hi, good evening. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real Men, Real Talk, Live. Welcome back to the studio and Real Men, Real Talk Live. I am the host of the show. Again, my name is Jay, and I am excited to welcome into the studio, coming in from across the pond, Mr. Evis Love Heath, the man of the land from down under. He calls Australia home. Welcome, Evis Love.
As always, my brothers, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And of course, we have Mr. Jeff Fasano. He calls Nashville, Tennessee home these days, although he is somewhere wandering in the state of Southern California, in Los Angeles. Perhaps we may locate him and find him tonight. Welcome to the studio, Jeff.
I'm great, but I think I'm fantastic. I was looking at, actually, I really don't know where I am right now, to be honest with you.
Well, we know where you're not, but you are somewhere here in the universe called Mother Earth. And of course, we have Mr. Josh Richer. He calls Southern California home. Welcome to the show, Josh Richer.
Great to be here with you guys. So grateful.
So this is tonight's a special night, and well, let's just say that it's been quite the day, quite the week. Lots going on here in the United States. As we wait for our guests to join us, our viewers, our listeners, welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live this evening. If you should hear something that you like or love, we invite you to tap your love button on your monitor, that is, and light us up. If you have any questions or comments, whether you're coming in from YouTube channel or Facebook Live, drop it down in the comment section, and we'll do our best to answer any and all questions that you come up in tonight's topic, which is called forgiveness, and it's a hot topic. But before we get to forgiveness tonight, there is a couple other men I want to introduce that are kind of been in the background for at least 10, 15 minutes or so, but welcome to the show, Real Men, Real Talk Live. Look who.
Oh, look at that. Oh, brothers all in the house, man. So special, so special.
Wow, to have the three of us. Looking down this line right now, I have it. These two beautiful men. This is...
So it was quite the afternoon. I'm going to invite Jeff Fasano. But first, I showed up here with Mary to Josh's place. We're in Josh's home in Southern California, and then Jeff showed up a little bit thereafter, and we went downstairs to meet Jeff. And what was that like for you, Jeff Fasano?
I kissed Jay on the cheek.
Beautiful.
And I saw these guys. Like right now, my emotions are it's amazing. So amazing to connect with these guys. I know I'm talking to the audience, but Ev, I'm telling you, I seeing these guys was like I saw them yesterday, and meeting them in soul to soul, heart to heart for the first time. You guys. It is like we have been together for lifetimes.
Absolutely magic, brother. Like I said, man, just looking at that screen there, my brothers, you don't need a light on there tonight because I can see 3 shining stars.
You know what I said to Jeff? I think we know each other since, well, I did my first podcast in July of 2018, so it's coming up on about 3 years that we met through live stream, through podcast interviews. And I said, it's so crazy because like the Jeff I've only known is from here on up, just from this point forward. And to be able to see him in the flesh, to be able to touch him, to be able to hug him, to be able to hold him and see his entire body is so surreal. It's so surreal. It's so beautiful. And this for me is a new experience. Obviously, Josh and I met. This is now our 3rd time that we're together live. but the first time for Jeff and I. And it's just, if you have, speaking to you viewers and listeners, if you have many friends that you have met through social media and you have not physically met, I invite you to somehow figure out a way to make it work. It'll just, the experience in that moment is so breathtaking. I know it took my breath away.
Yeah.
And it's just like every time I look at Jeff, like I just look into his eyes in this moment, and it just boom takes me right into. I could just take it just right into his soul, right here, right now. Just an absolutely amazing experience. So, in any event,
real quick, while we're in this moment of gratitude and appreciation, deep appreciation, and Ev, we're coming for you next.
Really?
Please get us out of lockdown, please.
We got another special moment this week too. It was Jay's birthday.
That's right.
A
That's
couple
right,
of
man.
weeks ago. And all of our beautiful, wonderful soul family, brothers and sisters who watch and love the show, I want you to light Jay up right now. Tell us what you appreciate about this beautiful man right here. He started this all. And the fact that I can just touch you right now, Jay, I love you. Light us up, everybody. Tell us what you love and appreciate about Jay. Because we are just, it is heartfelt here right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Rhea, I want to take a moment here. Thank you, Josh, for sharing that. It was an absolutely surreal birthday for me as well. Because turning 60, I didn't even know that I would make it to 60, honestly. And then to say it just doesn't feel real because I don't feel 60, you know? And they say it's a number, but it's a number that you still have to, you don't have to, but it's still a reality check. It's still, I think, a reality check of mortality and knowing that we're not here forever.
Absolutely beautiful.
But I'm grateful. So it's been, the greatest gift for me was spending my birthday. Mary spent a couple of weeks working on a project, inviting people to share some love notes that ended up getting placed into this little box. And I read a few of them at my birthday, small birthday celebration dinner. And then I read a few more when we got home. And then the next morning, I finished reading them all. And such gratitude for that experience that I had. Gratitude for those of you that celebrated my moment with me, as well as Mary for putting this amazing birthday gift together for me. And so such gratitude. In any event, this show is not about me, it's about us. So I want to bring it back to us, as in the four of us and our viewers, because our viewers, you are what bring us back each and every week. You inspire us to show up. We love what we do. And we get messages on occasion from viewers that really light us up and inspire us to keep doing what we're doing. And so tonight's topic is about forgiveness. And Ed, you usually do a really good job of just kind of warming us up and getting us ready to deep dive into what is forgiveness about. And my intention for tonight's show is to really share some massive tips, tricks, and tools on how we can kind of come home from the inner bondage that we live in when we feel like we've received a life sentence not worthy of the crime, hurt somebody else. And at the same time, there's the other piece of forgiveness, which is forgiveness for ourselves. And so without further ado, I'm going to invite Evis to warm us up and kick off our tonight's show on all things forgiveness. And again, welcome viewers. If you should have any questions or comments, drop them down, and we'll do our best to acknowledge you and answer as many questions that you may have as it relates to an area in your life that you are either on the receiving end of not being forgiven for something that you have done in your own lifetime, and or what you're struggling with in your own process of being able to forgive someone else that hurt you at your soul level. And so, Ed, take it away, brother.
Yeah, my brother, and just looking at some of these beautiful comments coming in for our brother, and happy birthday again to you, J. Roth, man. And you know, there's not one single word in there that says anything wrong about or bad about this beautiful man that has been able to create this beautiful platform. And I'm really thinking tonight on forgiveness, man. It's a pretty deep topic, man. Can we just talk about love tonight, brother? That's all I'm feeling here from the other side of the pond. But let's dive in deep for a little while, my brothers and sisters. And as always, here from the land down under, thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart to even just share the platform with these three beautiful men. I'm very honored, and I feel very appreciative to be even sharing it on the other side of the pond. So one thing for me about forgiveness, you know, I did a little bit of a video yesterday to try and warm up and give us a little bit of hype going into this particular show today. And it was one thing for me over the years, you know, trying to find that forgiveness from other people. I had to, you know, show my forgiveness to other people also. One thing that I did learn, though, very recently, that at the end of the day, like my brother just mentioned, this is also all an inner job. And what I mean by that, we cannot forgive others until we really forgive ourselves. Now, whether that's been in relationships, which a lot of our show, as we know, we talk about, and a lot of that forgiveness does come from those things. Like I said in the video yesterday, it may be even linked to a place, some other location that you've had bad memories of. It may be linked to something just off field that really causes some sort of connection, some sort of entanglement that many of us, my brothers and sisters, we just cannot let go. You know, we all make mistakes in our life. And as my brother, Jay the Rothman, says so beautifully, missteps, or as I say also, mistakes within our lives, if we don't learn from some of these things that we can't let go of, then what happens is, my brothers and sisters, we hold on to them for our story that is happening now. Now, this doesn't serve us because we're living out a story based on the past. Now, from my personal experience, when I've asked for forgiveness of someone, and I'm sure we're going to dive in deep about our stories tonight, you know, I remember going up to that particular person and asking for forgiveness, and they'd said to me that they'd forgotten about the whole situation. Mm-hmm. So why is it that we hold on to something as big, something like in forgiveness, like some of our past mistakes, like some of our past missteps, like some of these other things that we hold on to that don't serve us and move us forward into living out our best life? So no, tonight here on Real Men Real Talk Live with our brothers, we're going to be diving in deep about forgiveness. I'm really looking forward to this one tonight, my brothers. And yeah, man, it's hard to see us over there, but at the same time, it actually gets my heart so shining.
That's for you, Av.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother.
Rand Gardner says, this topic scares the hell out of me. Struggling with this one right in this moment on both sides. Rand, tell us more.
You know,
I feel you, Rand.
Yeah, it scares me too. But Ev, just like he always does, just put it totally into perspective for me. What you just said about the story, and then I'm thinking I hold on, like I told you guys in the production meeting, I hold on to things that have happened to me in the distant past, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and I'm holding on to them inside of me. And whenever you just said, you walked up to somebody and said, can you forgive me? And they had totally forgot what was happening. And I'm sure that's happened in my life, but we've talked so many times in the show about the story.
Mm-hmm.
I just got it. It's like, what story am I still telling myself in relationship to not so much forgiveness, but what happened with it? And which is part of my story. Like if you guys ask me, so who is that? Who's that? I'd tell you a story about what happened. Thanks, man. I just got it.
Yeah, you're right, my brother.
And what time is it?
Really?
Holy cow.
It's not even the third inning, man.
This usually happens, yeah.
That means it was a good warm up. So,
That's a good
how
one.
do you think that's going to impact
Are
you?
we supposed to be looking at each other?
You-
Or should we stay?
It's hard. It takes
Really?
it takes a lot of discipline not to look to my right
I know,
or to my left.
man.
Yeah. Good.
Yes. So what does that mean for you, Jeff? How is this moment going to change your relationship with those that you've been holding on to the story about?
Well, actually, to begin with, it's so interesting looking at the screen and Jay sitting next to me and hearing Jay ask the question, but it feels like you're in Sedona. Anyhow, this is just so surreal, folks. It's like beyond when the four of us together is going to be beyond the dream that I had a year ago with all that I saw. But I think now, what Ev just did was give me an aha, or oh, okay, it's part of my story. What I can now do is process that part of it, and then if and when I see those people again, knowing that it's inside of me, that they probably don't even care, but that's my story.
Man, Jeff, I mean, yeah, you hit me too. And Jeff, why is it there? Why can't, and I'm the same way too. What did we do wrong? Like, what was so awful to be shamed into this lifetime of just just the negative self-talk in my head and beating myself. And I'm the same way too. It's like stuff that happened so long ago that nobody cares about but us. What is so unforgivable inside me is the question. It's like, what did I do to deserve a lifetime of this? And this, and Rianne, this topic scares the shit out of me too, because I thought about it this week. I don't know exactly what the path to forgiveness looks like. And I'm just starting to crack that open now as well. So the road ahead is unclear. I know that love and self-kindness and, of course, self-care will be my guide and my lights along the path. But as far as where that path goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Yeah, you've already given us some beautiful tools there, Josh, and I think a big part about forgiveness is definitely like we're talking about this story that we're telling in our own heads. It's really those consequences that we are fearing that we don't want to sort of confront to move forward. So like we're saying, you may be asking that forgiveness of someone on that angle, or someone coming up to you asking you for your forgiveness, and then not even remembering the story. It's because you've got this story going on over in your head that are anchored by emotions. So this is about emotional intelligence 101 again. You see, because we want to hold on to the blame. We want to hold on to the shame. We get into self-guilt. And really the reality of the situation is that we haven't really taken responsibility for the actions that may have caused the event or situation that is causing this forgiveness in the first place. So once we're able to have that responsibility of whatever event, whatever situation that had caused for you to ask for the forgiveness, and ask yourself what led up to that event. What led up into that particular situation that now I'm asking for forgiveness? That's where we can start pulling the root. And to me, once we start processing some of the emotions that are the deep ones, like I mentioned, the blame, shame, guilt, then we can start getting to the root of what even caused a particular situation in the first place and move forward through some of the tools we're going to share tonight.
I want to highlight here, Tracy Smith says, I learned to forgive when my guides taught me to thank everyone who taught me well. Who wants to dissect this one or break it down from your interpretation? Jeff, what does this mean to you?
You know, that's great. If we look at everything from a soul perspective, whatever happened, it's what could I learn from that situation? That's wow. It's like, what's the gift? What's the lesson? If we've been holding on to something, something that was in my situation, it wasn't so much what I did, but what I interpreted or whatever. Somebody did something to me or said something to me that I have been holding on to. That hurt inside of me. They didn't hurt me. I felt that hurt. So what in those situations now, what could I look at and ask, okay, what was that teaching me?
There you go.
Teaching me in the moment. Now, something happened today where I'm just saying, what's the gift? What's the lesson? What's the gift? What's the lesson? And that usually could take time. And now that we've opened up this door tonight, I'm asking myself in my story right now with a couple of people, what's the gift? What's the lesson? And what could I learn from those situations that I've been holding on for 10 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what Tracy's saying right there.
Yeah. And that's that silver lining you can find in everything. Like you said, the lessons, the gift. You know, for me, I've talked about my relationship that caused me to fall a few years back. And it was only recently that I received a letter that I shared with my brothers. And you may as well have called it a letter of forgiveness. And I was actually the person in that particular side where I hadn't forgot about the situation, but I had let it go because I had forgiven myself. I had forgiven myself once again within my life for neglecting me, for neglecting little Ev. So when he doesn't, or he gets abandoned again, you don't feel the same emotions or the feelings, or they don't affect you in the same way. Because I took the gift, I took the lesson out of the separation.
What's coming up?
Just what Ed said.
Okay.
The distance from whatever happened gives you more perspective on it, and perhaps whatever happened in that moment, that's what all the distance was supposed to happen. And what I'm also finding too in the situations with me is the old pattern behavior for me was not speaking my truth. For if I did, it would cause a conflict. So and this might be for others watching. In the moment that these specific things happen, I didn't respond or speak my truth in the moment. I shut down, and their energy was there. And what I'm learning is something unsaid inside of me. I didn't speak my truth to them of whatever they said or did, how it affected me. I never got to say that. That's the challenge for me to let go and forgive, and whatever that is. In those moments when I now think about them, I didn't speak.
Mm.
They said, they did in the moment, they did it. And I just withdrew inside of myself and walked away. And then over the years, as I started to grow and realize that I can speak my truth without the intention of harm from a place of love, and I'm going, why didn't I do that then?
Mm.
But that's one of the things that now that I see it, that's what it's bringing up inside of me. It's things left unsaid.
Mm.
That if I had the tools back then that I have now of taking a breath in and then responding, the old Jeff 10 years ago would have, or 5-6 years ago, would have just lashed out and then blamed and shamed them.
Mm. Mm.
And you just triggered that on me too, Jeff. Even just today, I was reminded of a situation where when I was first getting into this industry 20 years ago, and I was riding around in the truck with some other set dressers, and they were talking about surfing, and I was a young kid wanting to fit in, wanting to be, in this world with these veterans of the industry, and I said, this was the stupidest thing. I said I had gone surfing earlier with this buddy of mine who had this spot down south, and it was my girlfriend's. She was with the wife of this guy, and so I was kind of new to them, and I just said my friend to throw it out, to fit in, and they go, oh, well, what's his name, and and of course I couldn't remember in the moment. I had met them once, and so I was floundering in that moment. At first, it was just stupid. But Jeff, you're absolutely right. I wasn't speaking my truth back then. I was coming from a wounded place of not feeling enough and wanting to fit in. And so I said this thing. But the weirdest thing, when I was driving home today, that popped up in my memory for no reason. And I still had bad feelings around it. It was like I winced inside because I didn't speak my truth and I didn't stand up for myself and and it was the stupidest moment. Why am I keeping that alive? Why is it coming? Because I was really bummed I didn't speak my truth.
And what was the trigger for that to come up, brother?
What was the trigger? I was driving on the 405 stuck in traffic.
Wow.
In my head. But I remember thinking in the moment, I was like, why is this coming up right now? That was so long ago. And so, yeah, I do not know. Jay, enlighten us.
Yeah, so I want to take us in another direction right now. Kind of break this down. I think part of the forgiveness process that we all want is to be heard and to be understood. And one of my mentors once said, forgiveness is the apology you may never receive. I'm going to say that one more time. Forgiveness is the apology you may never receive. Now, what that means to me is that I could spend the rest of my life trying to convince that person that I'm in a conflict with to be heard. From my side of that story, to be heard and understood. But they may not have the capacity to understand that, to hear me, to see me, and or they may not even be alive to be able to have that intimate conversation. So I think what I took away from that experience is that forgiveness is not for them or the relationship. Forgiveness ultimately is going to be for me.
There you go. There you go.
And what helps me navigate through that, now it's simple, not easy, because we all have feelings and we have emotions. And if you're anything like me, guys, you know, I get hung up on those feelings of injustice. And something I said most recently to an angel sitting across the room right here, right now, was that at times I feel like certain crimes don't fit the sentence, the life sentence. And I believe part of the forgiveness process is really practicing acceptance. Acceptance that it is what it is. I may not be able to ever come to peace with that individual, a person. And what's more important is that I come to peace with myself. You know, it's kind of like, even in this show, there have been moments where we have said something and it's not heard because we're not ready to hear it. And it may not be until the second time or the fourth time or the fifth time, and all of a sudden, we're ready to hear it. It's part of being human. But what helps me also is to understand and really work on accepting that if I was that person, I'd be right where they're at, based on where they are in their own journey, this thing called life, this thing called relationships. It's simple, not easy, because, you know, it's one thing to say what I just shared. It's another thing to practice it.
That's right. There you go.
But ultimately, I believe that what's helped me navigate in my own process of forgiveness is always holding myself accountable for my role, my part, and examining it and looking at it and saying, as Jeff said, what's the lesson in this for me? Even in that moment of sadness, some type of pain, what can I learn? What can I do differently? It's not about beating myself up. It's about holding myself accountable for my side. Because, you know, we can easily give ego permission to manage our emotions and feelings. And when we do that, it gets slippery and slick real quick.
Ooh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, 100%, Jay. And what you mentioned there about acceptance too, and I think, you know me, man of my words. When I actually looked at the etymology of forgiveness, you know, we have to look at that word again, my brothers and sisters. It's all in the word. To forgive is to basically comes from a word pardena, a Latin word, which actually English ended up deriving into pardon. And it is to give completely without reservation. When you think about what reservation goes into, what are you reserving from giving? You do have to accept that you may not get the forgiveness, you may not get the apology, you may not get the reply that you were seeking. And that's why I keep saying, my brothers and sisters, this is about the emotions that we have to let go of. So when we're able to process that giving of the forgiveness that we've been able to give, or being able to actually accept a forgiveness from someone else, then we can actually move forward. And, you know, like, I think we've got to really dive into deep how these tools can really help us. I know Brother Josh mentioned a couple of them nice and early. We're always talking about self-care to move forward on some of these things. You know, Jay's talking about some of those tools there. But one of those things for me, just like I do with my visual journal, just like I do with my mood journal, I also keep a forgiveness journal. And when I look back on some of those forgiveness journals, some of those writings of mine, they no longer belong to me today. That was me in the past, like I mentioned. It's in history. So I simply rip them up or I burn them. I get them into the ether. I send them away. So some of those other tools, you know, getting back to those values within our own life, where we can then use the forgiveness to be able to reshape some of our goals and intentions that are here, my brothers and sisters, that are here in the now. This is simply getting stuck on old buried emotions that no longer serve us today.
I think the first step in all of this, not that I think, but I'm really feeling right now, the first step that you just said, Ev, would be to look at the situation, whether it happened 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago or 5 weeks ago. How did that make me feel? What were the feelings that came up inside of me? What was the situation? And as Jay just said, what's my part in this? And then write all of that down and let it go. How did it make me feel that what this person said or did? And then how did that make me feel? And then what was my response, reaction, or neither of the two? I might have withdrawn into myself based upon where I was at that time. Write all of this down. How did that make me feel? The first step. How did that make me feel in that situation when that person did this or said this to me and didn't respond to it in that moment? And then go within and then write all of that down to even put them across, set up a chair, 2 feet in front of you, and imagine them in that chair and tell them, when you said this, this is how I feel about that. And then that starts to move it and let it go and get it out. And then you can either write it down and then, as Ev did, burn it and then really let it go. But I think that could be that's the first step inside of us, is to acknowledge us first and then move to them.
Let me ask you this, Jeff. What about when we've been, let's say, triggered and we've been hurt? We're hurt. We're angry. We're sad. All these emotions come up in a moment by somebody or something that's been said. What role can we examine as far as how old are we feeling in that moment? Which part of us feels hurt or wounded? Yeah. Is it my younger self? How old am I feeling? Am I really 60 years old? It's hard to hear. Or am I 6 years old? Is it my younger self? Is it little JJ? Or is it my ego? Or is it my higher self? Because when we can identify how old we're feeling in that moment, and we can really examine and admit which part of me is pissed off or angry or hurt or wounded, and how we are reacting in that moment, can that give us the ability to kind of pull back and really assess it and really examine what are we doing to either help it or hurt it? Are we creating more of a storm, or are we willing to release the storm so that we can allow the sun to rise?
Right. That's great. That and what I'm really liking, folks, is Jay's right here. And what's cool about this, folks, is
yeah, right here, brother.
Look at that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
To feel not looking at the screen and seeing Jay and feeling the energy and I just had so many visions in that moment of what this show is going to look like soon when the four of us are together. The thing about it, what's so cool about now, folks, and I know that I'm getting off the track.
It's okay. You can go. We'll meet you on the other side of the track.
You're in someone's living room, which we are right now, and you're just having a conversation together. We've been doing this on this screen for so long that I'm so fixed in the screen that I turn and I'm feeling Jay and Josh, and we're just and I'm looking in Jay's eyes when he's asking that question, and it's so much more real and profound, and I can and feeling it, and then all of a sudden I could feel Jay, and we're not talking to a screen, we're talking to each other, and it is just amazing. It's like we're just hanging out in Josh's living room right now, having this conversation. And anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's just the energy of us. Like Jay was just asking that question. You know, Josh is sitting there, I'm sitting there. You know, pick up a book. We're having this amazing conversation about something that's so important. Something that, you know, then I photographed the wedding. They're not saying how was the wedding. We're talking about things here that are really important. And I know, Ev, that when you're here and the four of us here, and we're not on this, we're gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, man, 100.
It's just, this is amazing, folks. We have just taken this connection that the four of us have to a whole new level.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just the beginning, my brother. Just the beginning.
And as Ev said when we first went on the air, let's make the topic about love.
Yeah, man.
But is that, you know, and they both do tie together, actually. Because can we truly love ourselves? Truly, unconditionally love ourselves if we haven't forgiven? Is it possible? I think I know my answer.
Wow.
Is no.
Right.
That's deep. That's deep, man.
Really.
Give him a cuddle for me, Jay. Give him a cuddle for me, brother.
What's coming up? Coming up.
Love that, man.
The answer's no.
Yeah. Yep.
The answer's
no. Do you think when would that time be, my brother, that you feel you could give you that self that love for forgiveness?
I hope soon. I like the journal idea, Ev.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one, brother. If I was there right now, man, I'd be looking you right in the eyes. I'd give you a cuddle, and I'd just say, Josh, you are enough, brother. Yeah. Remember that. You're enough.
Can you say that to little Joshy inside right now, out loud?
Yeah.
Say it to Joshy right here, right now. Tell him how you feel about it.
You are enough. You are a special being of light, full of talents, gifts. God, love you guys.
Yeah.
The fact that we can have these conversations, not only with each other, but with ourselves. and this loving space that we're holding for each other and all of you. Ah.
I'm going to invite you, Josh, just to take a nice deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Allow yourself to let it drop in so you feel it, not in your head, but in your heart. I think forgiveness is probably one of the most difficult actions for us as humans to embrace. We're really not taught how to do it in a healthy way. So, for example, how many times has someone apologized to you and you go right to, they say, I'm sorry. And what are we trained, what are we taught as little boys and girls to do? To our siblings, what do we say to them? It's okay. I forgive you right away, out of the gate. It's almost like it's expected that when I was taught as a little boy, when my sister did something wrong, if she apologized to me, I was taught you say, I forgive you. What do you say to your sister? She just apologized to you. I forgive you. How often in that moment are those just words, meaningless words, but we really haven't forgiven. And in that moment, it's our way of dissolving conflict that we don't like as humans. Until the next time that person hurts you. But now you got a layer. You got the past, right? You got the past hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a relationship, whether it be with a sibling, a parent, a partner, a friend, even a boss, it starts stacking up because you really didn't forgive them for the last thing that pissed you off or hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So now what do? They apologize again for a new act. And we're taught to say, I forgive you. Now, I'm sharing this because I'm speaking. That was my life. That was me. And what I've learned how to do in a healthy process of forgiveness in my own life today is to thank that person. Thank you for apologizing to me.
There you go. There you go.
It means the world to me. I appreciate you so much. Can I give you a hug? At no point did you just hear me say, I forgive you.
No.
Why is that? Because what I've learned is that just because they're ready to ask for forgiveness doesn't mean that I am truly ready to forgive. And I don't want to just speak the words without having the action behind it. Which is I want to be able to release that pain. I want to be able to truly forgive them, not up here, but down in here. Now, I think from my experience, when I have executed that and I have communicated that to that individual, thank you so much for the apology. It means so much to me. I haven't had anyone ask me, well, what does that mean? Are you not forgiving me? No one's pushed back on me. But that's given me the space to kind of pause and process and take time. It may be a day, it may be a week, it may be a month. And I can come back to that person and say, you know, the last conversation we had, you apologized to me. and I accept your apology. I needed some time just to kind of work through it and really work through it because I can't afford to hold on to that anymore. It's not good for me. It's not good for you. It's not good for us. That's a power tool that we haven't been taught in many of our homes. We are not obligated to accept an apology just because you're ready to give it in that moment. What we can do is honor them and respect them and thank them. But by no means are we obligated just to say the words if we don't really mean it. And I don't want to say anything I don't mean today. How's that fit? How's that feel, Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah. In the moment, if someone apologizes to us, it doesn't mean, first of all, it's about the action behind the words. It's really important. I think it's up to us as feeling beings in that moment. Are they just paying lip service to us, or do they really, really mean that? We don't have to answer that question in the moment. If somebody says, I'm sorry, I really apologize for this, we could say thanks and then move to a place within us and start to feel that. And we could just also right now ask ourselves, when I apologize to someone, because when we are apologizing to someone, we are taking responsibility for ourselves in the moment that we may have said something or did something that we went, wow, okay, maybe I reacted, maybe I said this. And then all of a sudden, as far as growing in the moment, and if we did something in that moment, if we are, then we might have reacted in a place of the wounded child. And then all of a sudden we come back to the here and now as the adult and saying, wow, what did I just do? Oh, I need to take responsibility for that. And you know what? I have a choice here. Should I apologize? Should I not apologize? What should I do? And then, you know what? I really, really need to speak to them and apologize for my actions, because I see what I said. I hear what I said. I see what I've done. I'm not really sure how they took it. That's really not my responsibility. But what my responsibility is to me in owning up inside of me, and then saying as the adult, you know what I said in that moment, I really apologize for you. I don't know how you felt about that, but I really feel I need to apologize to you for that. And then it's coming from our heart space and it's not lip service.
Yeah.
And then it's up to that other person, whatever they're going to say, oh no, don't worry about it. Or, you know what you did say hurt. And let's talk about it. If it needs to be talked about, if there needs to be some communication, and then let's clear the air, or let's let that go, and then we both come to. But these are adults speaking. We might have reacted, like I said, through the wounds of the child.
I want to just put up here real quick. Katrina May says, Jeff, we always talk about learning to forgive, but we never talk about living with not being forgiven.
Right.
That comes back to, does the crime fit the sentence? And what I know is that we don't have control over where someone else is at in their own, let's call it mental health, and how deeply hurt or wounded they are. And here's where, Katrina, I'm continuing practicing living in acceptance. But I do want to share a story with all of you tonight. That shows me it's possible. Less than a week ago, I hadn't seen my ex-wife since my son got married, coming up on 4 years ago. And she and I were at a memorial last weekend together. And she asked me where I was staying. And I told her, well, we're in transition. We're going to be leaving where we're staying, and I'm not quite sure where we're heading. We've been traveling. We've been in SoCal now for just over 2 weeks. And well, I was blown away because she said to me, well, if you need a place to stay, I have a pull-out sofa. You're welcome to stay at my place. And in that moment, I just said, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I said to her, I'd like to pause on that and I'll get back to you. And she said to me, I really mean it. I've got the room. And I'm thinking to myself, is she thinking, am I alone? Does she not realize I'm with Mary? They have not met yet. And she says to me, in all sincerity, you are both, you're welcome to spend, you and Mary are welcome to sleep on my pull-out sofa. This is, in that moment, I was in incredible gratitude because I never saw, not that I was waiting for it, but I never anticipated that type of invite coming from my ex because there was so much hurt and wounds and pain between the two of us. And it was such a beautiful moment for me. What was even more amazing was when the memorial ended that we were at, and we were all in a hallway, we meaning my sons, myself and my ex, and she looks at me, I'm about to say goodbye, and she says to me, again, you and Mary are more than welcome to stay at my place. So my 3 sons are right there. And my eldest son looks at her and says, what? What did you just say to Dad? And she repeated it. And all 3 kids looked like they had seen a deer in a headlight. They were in shock. And just a beautiful moment without me reading into what was behind that, other than I went right to gratitude and right to she's done some work on healing and some work on forgiveness. And that was absolutely, for me, the highlight of that day.
Could I ask you a question?
Sure, of course. I may not answer you, but you can ask me the question.
He's right. So actually, it goes back to what Josh was talking about before. I'm getting tired of looking at the screen. So
we've done 64
really,
shows.
We've done 64 shows looking at the screen.
Look at this.
These guys are right next to me. I'm not going to look at the screen, folks. Sorry. So what Josh said earlier about the challenge of forgiving himself.
Yeah.
And this is what just came up, and because I relate a lot to what you just said. So when you and your wife were together, we all do things. So you might have said, wow, there are some things that I did. How could you ever forgive me for that?
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
And then
let me pull out the list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is without the list. So all of a sudden, you're at this memorial, and she says, "Oh, you and Mary can stay there." Was there a part of you, because I know this has happened to me, part of you that went, "Holy shit!" And then all of a sudden, the things that you did pop up, and then all of a sudden, she's inviting me to stay there, which means there's a hell of a lot of stuff that she let go and forgive that you might not have thought that she could ever forgive you for. So going back to what Josh said earlier, it's the same thing. How we hold on to the things that we've done or perceive. See, it's about we perceive that we've done, because we think we've done things. And like I said, we don't know how the other person is taking it, but if we're doing it, we're going, oh wow, I did that, I said that, and then we ourselves hold on to it. And then out of the blue, the other person goes, hey, want to stay at my house? And you're like, what the? What? All the shit that I did to you or said to you, and you're what? And we're amazed by it because we've held ourselves in a place that we don't even feel that we're forgivable.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Is that a long question?
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful question, and I went. I had a whole spiral, like many different. It kind of went into a whole cycle of processing that, and for me, there was a part that came up of, do I even trust? Can I trust that would, not that she's not, that truly that she was inviting me and she repeated it, so I knew that she was coming. It wasn't just words, she meant it. But there was a part of me that went to, what's her motive?
Mm.
Now, when I shared this story with a few other people in my life, they went to the dark side. They came up with a whole nother script or narrative as far as why she was inviting me to a home. And I chose not to fall into that trap.
There's the stories.
There's stories around that.
Really, yeah.
And for me, it really came down to going right to gratitude.
Mm.
Right to gratitude. And I went right to two things. One was, she's done some massive work.
Mm.
And I wanna trust that. And she doesn't say things that, she doesn't put offers out unless she means it, for better or worse.
Mm.
The second thing that came up for me was, I actually presented it to Mary. I got in a car. I was like, you're not going to believe what just what unfolded. And I told her, and I said, what do you think? Would you even consider that? And I said to her, because one of few things can happen. This can actually turn into an incredible healing opportunity for the three of us. Or she could have the best intention, but it could also unknowingly bring up things that just she's not ready to deal with emotionally, that could spiral into a bad situation for her.
Right.
And Mary said something that was absolutely beautiful, and we were done. The conversation was over. She said, well, before we get into bed, I think we ought to date. And what she meant by that was, before we agree to staying and having a sleepover,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
let's meet for a cup of coffee. Let's meet in a restaurant. Let's meet in a neutral space where we can feel the energy. We can see the energy. We'll know pretty quickly what's really going on. Is she ready? Are we ready? That's why I adore this woman. That's why I love this woman named Mary Kelly, because she got it. And that's a beautiful metaphor for all of us. Before we jump into bed with somebody, before we have a sleepover, how trustworthy are they? Do we really know them? And how important is it? That's part of the vetting process. Even between an ex-wife and a fiance and myself, that triangle. It's got to be a win-win. And part of the forgiveness process in that moment is not just to say, yes, I forgive you, we'll come over. There was a classic example of me saying, wow, I was like, this is such a gratitude moment for me. And I said, I'll let you know. And then I followed through and I did what I said I was going to do. I sent her a note the next day, and I thanked her. I said we were able to make other arrangements, but what a beautiful moment for me to acknowledge, like, thank you. You know, it seems like you've done some healing, and that's such a gratitude moment for us and where we're at. And so that's how that played. Did I answer your question, Fasano? I don't even know.
No, I'm just taking in the energy here. But what's sticking with me, Ev just said, isn't that part of the story?
Yeah.
It's how this story lives in us. The person comes to us and apologizes, or does it in a different way than we wanted them to do it. You know, maybe that person said, in using Jay's ex-wife as an example, and then all of a sudden the story comes up. And really what the story could be is, wow, mom is apologizing to me, but my little person inside of me is like, yeah, mom, do you really see? That's how deep the story can go.
Yeah.
It's not even the story of what even happened between two consenting adults at that time. It's really what is even in the deeper story of when that happened, right? You know, in a way, and it's that story that comes up as opposed to taking it on face value. And then I know for me, I would have probably, gotten right into bed. But Mary says, oh, let's date first. Let's just meet and let's see where that is and be with it. When a person apologizes, or in their own way, you could feel a shift and change of the energy between you and that person, even though we're saying, you know what, you did this to me, and this is what happened, and you know what, you need to apologize to me right now. Well, that's not the way it may go down, but it may go down in a different way, and then we have to notice our story coming up behind.
That's the one, brother. That's the one.
Josh, I want to ask you, do you have any stories that come to mind of how you've navigated through forgiveness of either yourself or someone else?
Yeah,
that comes to mind that
I mean,
like
one of the tools I used early on, because my depression and anxiety was absolutely from my internal self-talk. That critic who couldn't forgive me for those actions and kept beating me up repeatedly. That house of 1,000 corpses that I talked about a couple of episodes, that house of death, where I killed myself over and over and over and over. And I did when I left the parking garage after almost jumping. I really thought about it because I was learning about brain rewiring at the time, and what I learned was that if you hold an idea in your prefrontal cortex, the brain gets really tired of you burning energy and will implant that idea after about a month or 20 some days. And so I thought about it. I was like, what do I want? What was one word that encapsulated my emotional crash, that downfall? And it was the word should. I should have seen this coming. I shouldn't have done that. I should have. It was littered. I used it against myself in the past, the present, and the future. And so I was like, that's it. I want to eradicate this word from my language. So for a month, every time I said the word should in a sentence, I started to become aware of it first. And I realized it was littered all over it was like a minefield in my internal as well as my external talk when I was speaking to other people. And so the deal I made with myself was I had to back up the sentence, whether it was in my head or out loud, and restate it with the word could instead. And could is a much kinder word. There's option. I could have done that, but I didn't, and that's okay. There's not that critic, that harsh stabbing, that would just get me so bad. Yeah. So for a month, I did the should, could reframe in my mind. And sure enough, I was like day 25 when the brain said, all right, fucker, if you're going to keep doing this could thing and burn all this energy, I'm going to implant it into your subconscious. And I remember the second that it happened. I've told this story before, but it's worth noting because this is what took that critic away. And I was going out to take out the trash, and I saw my car keys there that kind of highlighted themselves. And I thought, why do I need my car keys? I'm just taking the trash out. So I walked downstairs, I threw away the trash, and I realized it was street sweeping day and I had to move the car. Well, this was a perfect should moment when I would have been like, oh, you should have grabbed the keys. That's why they highlighted themselves. But what my brain, there was laughter in this moment, and I went, huh, that's why I saw the keys. And then I recognized it in an instant that the water went the new way, that I had consciously chosen could lightness option against that old critic. My brain did it. And that I almost danced in the alley. I was so happy to just finally be free of that critic.
And funnily enough, you took the trash out. See the symbol behind that, brother?
There you go. I love these connections.
It's all metaphors, brother.
So that, if I had one tool, that would be it.
I want to take a moment here just to welcome our viewers this evening to.
Excuse me, Jay. We're back to the show now.
I want to shout out to a few people. Greg Battersby just celebrated a birthday, same birthday as mine, June 30th, different year, but just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Hope you had a beautiful day honoring yourself and your life, and found peace within of where you're at and the growth that you have embraced in your own healing journey, this thing called life. Want also, a couple of shout outs. I want to shout out to a few people that opened their homes to both Mary and I over the last 2 weeks, including Josh Richard, this amazing, beautiful, younger man sitting right next to me here. We're going to spend the night. We're going to have a sleepover, another play date tonight when we wrap up being live on air. I want to shout out also to Joe and Gabriella, as well as Mary Korn, who opened up her home, and it just was an absolutely beautiful host. Nothing but love shared with both Mary and I. We came in as acquaintances and left as friends. And just this absolutely beautiful host to both Mary and I. And I don't think if I missed anyone along this trip here, it's been an amazing couple of weeks. A lot of lessons, a lot of bittersweet moments, but a lot of beautiful moments as well. And of course, Brett Potter. We also met. Brett Potter is another man who we met on this trip. I know Brett almost 3 years. He was a prior guest on a podcast. I invited him to talk about his life story, and we got to meet last weekend, and face to face, and just an absolutely amazing, beautiful man who we got to connect soul to soul. And so, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to meet with me, and to have that moment where we can just look in each other's eyes. And so, guys, we are over the hour this evening. I've let this one go because I don't know when we'll be together. 3 out of 4 of us together. Ev, I want to ask you, because you're with us, but how has it been for you? Is there a part of you as little Ev? Where are you at? Do you feel left out at all? Do you feel like you're missing out? What's really going on for you in this moment? How does it feel to be with us, but to not be with us physically in person? What has it been like for you? I'm inviting you to go deep here.
Look at where I am on that screen, brother. See, I'm with you. I'm here in spirit. I'm above. I'm here with you all the time, my brother. So through body, obviously it'd be beautiful to be there physically with my brothers. But I've always said this about this connection that we all share, that the soul itself is the four of us together.
Mm-hmm.
So to experience that next opportunity when we are physically in the room together, that is just going to take it to another level, but that's just going to be a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So little Ev, higher self Ev, adult Ev, we're all happy, man. I'm so happy to see my brothers there. These have had me lit all show, and I just can't wait till we really get out of lockdown here in the land down under, and I can come over there and do a couple of shows. It'd be just on another level, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just so grateful just to be a part of it. So thanks, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Ev. I also want to do a quick shout out to Carrie Crary, who celebrated a birthday just a couple of days before mine.
Yeah.
I reached out to her and did a video chat because I wanted to see her. And it was a beautiful moment for me and for Mary to connect. What else? If anyone else had a birthday this week and I'm not aware of it, happy birthday to you. I do want to share, before we go to our magical chair segment, the wrap up for the show tonight, the gift that I got this week was one that I thought was so beautiful because much of the time in relationships, we don't say the things that we want to say to somebody at the deeper level, express our gratitude and how they have touched our lives. And for many people, it doesn't happen until they have transitioned, until you hear it in a eulogy.
Mm-hmm.
And many times, family members aren't even aware of the stories that come forward until the eulogy is shared. And Mary took an idea that was shared with her, to her, and she ran with it. And it was an absolutely beautiful gift that I received. For me to receive a 21-page document that was cut up into little notes that was then placed into this beautiful box of words expressed of how I've touched many of your lives. I started to read it as it was gifted to me in a restaurant. And I think I got through maybe the third or fourth message and the tears came. And then I looked over, I was having dinner with Mary, and then Mary Korn, who's a viewer of ours as well, viewer and friend, who we spent time staying with, and we were all crying. And I knew in that moment, I mean, there was not an empty seat. I just realized that, we could continue this at home in the privacy of a home, but it just touched me so profoundly. And what I invite you to do, viewers and listeners and friends and family, is don't wait until someone has passed to express to them how you truly feel. Send them a note. It doesn't even have to be their birthday. Let them know how you feel about them. And what was beautiful for me was that it came to me because one of the experiences I had from receiving this amazing gift was that I feel, now this just could be my narrative and my script, that my sons don't know me. They know the dad that I was. They know the father that I was. They know the husband that I was based on the stories they've heard and their experiences, but not the man that I am today. They know the man that I was prior to I started on my healing journey. And I asked Mary, I said, I think what would be really beautiful would be for you to email my sons this and invite them, whether they save it and read it at another time when they're ready, or open it now and read it now. For them to get to perhaps see the side of me that they haven't been open to see. To get to know the man that I have become through my own healing journey of mind, body, and soul. So that they don't have to wait until I am no longer here to see how I have committed to making amends for my own life choices that I made that hurt other people. That is my way of asking for forgiveness for my own sins, for my own pain, and being able to give back and inspire others through the work that I do today. And that's a huge part of why I show up today. I do the work that I do. This is my way of asking for forgiveness and touching other people's lives. And so it's just an absolutely beautiful moment for me. And I invite you to, if you have someone in your life that has a birthday, an anniversary, some type of monumental celebration coming up, gift them this. Gift it to them. Create a box of gratitude coming from people that they have touched in their life. But in any event, thank you for that. I want to invite each one of you guys. I'm gonna put. Let's see. Tonight, I'm gonna put Jeff in a hot seat first, and invite. Who wants to ask Jeff a question regarding forgiveness? And you have 2 minutes to answer the question.
Sensing I'm feeling Evans.
What's coming up for me, my brother? What's coming up? I think one story that you've shared a couple of times on the show, Jeff, and it always touches my heart, is the story that you shared with your relationship with your father. Do you feel, obviously you've been able to move through that. What was the biggest thing that helped you move through that forgiveness side of things with your father and you as in the relationship as the inner child?
It was really getting in touch with a child and realizing that it wasn't Jeff. Even it was around in my late 40s, mid to late 40s, that I began the process of changing, not so much healing the relationship with my father, but changing it. From the little kid, Jeff, the 10-year-old, 5-year-old, 15-year-old, looking up to Dad, making him superhuman, making him responsible for everything, wishing and hoping he would say that I was a good baseball player, that I loved you. And when I started the process of shifting that and shifting my relationship with him, it began to unfold where I had to, and I've said it on this show, things I said to him, things that I had to cut off, things I had to actually say to him. And I've shared the big moment on this show is when I yelled on the phone, "Would you shut the bleep up?" And that's what began the process, because I finally let out what the 12-year-old wanted to say, or the 8-year-old, the 15-year-old wanted to say. And then I started to shift my relationship with it, where in a process, it became an adult relationship. I was no longer looking up at Dad, looking for him to help me. We eventually became best friends. But I had to do it, because he wasn't going to do it. He didn't know how to do it. So when we commit to this process of growth, of moving within, we can shift that relationship with that person. And it was just, I was fortunate that my father, because my father was he was an amazingly deep person who said things that blew me away. He he started to feel the shift. And there was something, if you guys don't mind, that just popped into my head. My father got sick, and I was living in Manhattan, and he was living in New Jersey, and he doesn't remember. He never remembered me visiting him. And one day, we're in my parents' living room when they had their condo in New Jersey, and talk about someone who held on to things. And he looked at me and he brought that up, and I went, "What? What? I was there. I was in the hospital when you were there." And he doesn't remember. And he thought he never got to actually talk to me about it. And in that moment, and this was 20 years after that. I was in my 20s.
Yeah, there you go.
It was amazing. And he goes, "Oh, you were just thinking about yourself." And my mother looked at him and said, "He was there." And my father never got to actually speak to me about that. But the great part of was that I had moved to a place within me in my 40s. Where I looked at him and I didn't say, "You're crazy, you're nuts." I said, "Wow, Dad, let's talk about that." And we talked about it, and then it shifted. And that was the shift in the relationship with my father, that through my intention of growing within me to move into the place of the adult, to shift my relationship with not only my father, but with even other people, that's when that shifted. But the wonderful part of it is that my father got it.
Yeah.
He got it. And he was like, and as we just became friends, and I said to him in that moment, "Dad, if something comes up, talk to me. Just say it." He held on to that thing for 20 years. 20 years. And I didn't even, and here we go. I didn't even remember it.
There you
I was
go.
like, "What hospital were you in?" I don't even remember that. But how he held on to it. And that shows you how even, what is the mirror in that moment? Okay, what am I holding on to? Boom. Even with my father. "Oh, Dad, I remember walking into my Babe Ruth game, and you never said, he could have looked at me and said, 'Oh my God, that was 25 years ago.'" So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, brother. And there's just one little bit, second part of that. Through all of that beautiful forgiveness for your father, has the beautiful man that we see sitting here today with us, my other two brothers, so beautifully sharing the room with you, has he been able to forgive himself for his past missteps, setbacks?
Oh, that's a work in progress, my friend.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Wow. Even something that happened today, I'm sitting here going, I should have done this. Why did that happen? What's going on with that? And I go, the internal blame and shame thing. That's a work in progress.
Thanks, brother.
All right.
Thanks for speaking truth, sir.
It's so weird speaking into this camera when we're
We lost our shot, a widescreen shot. I'm not sure if we lost battery because it's.
Yeah, I might have died.
Yeah,
Might have died up
we
there.
died up there.
But in any event, I want to invite. I want to put Josh in a hot seat.
Uh-oh.
And so I'm gonna, unless one of you guys have a question for Josh, if anything pops, otherwise I'm gonna take this one with you, Josh.
Let's do it, Jay.
So my question to you, Josh, because I know that you recently, in the last couple of months, had a very powerful breakthrough with your own dad, and so I'm just curious from your perspective, where are you in the process of forgiving your dad for how you had felt he was treating you in a relationship for many years?
Mm.
Where do you think you are in a forgiveness process? And then I'll give you the second question behind that.
I've moved into a space of being really proud of it and realizing how big that was for him to, how large a chasm he had to jump to meet me that day from an honest, truthful, but deeply honest and truthful place, and how special that was. And so for me, I think just deep gratitude, appreciation, and just really, really, really grateful, and grateful to the universe. The fact that he hasn't watched a single show in 63 shows that do, and he watched the one. That is no mistake. And so, yeah, for me, it was deeply special, and I'm proud of the man. When push came to shove, and we had to sit down and have that come to Jesus, boy, he stepped up, and I didn't think that was possible.
Before you ask that question, again, I go back to before we got on the air. Eva said, "Let's just make this all about love." So, in that moment, Josh, and I'm just feeling this right now. Your father went, "Wow, you know what? I love this kid. I love this guy. Wow. I love, he just, and I think I'm really feeling in that moment, it was his love for you that said, like I can't even say it. It's like the feeling that he loves you so much that is why he opened up. Because I remember you saying I was ready to say, sayonara, Dad. I'm done with it. And his love for you said no. Isn't that what it always comes down to in all of these relationships? Even Jay, there's a part of your ex-wife that you guys would never have gotten married if there wasn't any connection and love there from the beginning. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's interesting you bring that up, Jeff, because about Josh and his dad, because sometimes parents and children, Josh's story is not so unique. It's unique because it's his story to him, but it's being replayed in society every day, every year. And I know a number of children, adult children, that have parents that they're not able to reach that I had able to get through and they continue to struggle in that conflict. And so I don't know how, I don't really know where to go with it other than just to acknowledge it. It's like, I feel your pain.
Mm.
Fortunately, not everybody has that, I'll call happy ending. Some parents, some children are by their parents' bedside when they transition, waiting for those words, and it doesn't come. I've coached some of those adult children. And so I'm not really sure. I'm really not sure if there's a magic bullet, if there's that one thing that's said or done that penetrates the heart instead of the head. But I know it worked for Josh.
Mm.
You know, for him, it was about shock. His dad needed to be shocked into a reality, which was, oh my God, my son just told the universe that he's ready to walk away.
Mm.
He doesn't know what else to do, but he can't continue to have this type of relationship where he's not being heard and or honored or respected as his son.
Mm.
I share a similar story where I had to do some healing, some repair work with one of my parents as well.
Mm.
And there is no magic bullet, but I do know that I think ultimately what I think the common denominator is when we have the courage to speak our truth and be willing to set boundaries with a parent, but also be willing to accept that if it's not now, it doesn't mean it's forever. It just means right now, right here, they are not ready. Or I'm not ready. And that's the universe showing me in that moment that it just means I need to do more work. Put the focus back on me and do the work. And so, thank you, Josh. Ev, you're up. Who wants to hit Ev with a question?
I got
Hit me up, brothers.
I'm going to stay in the, I'd like to stay in the, since we're all talking about our relationships with our fathers. As you asked me, Ev, when, and you just shared with us a couple of shows ago about seeing your father again, and when along your path did it come to you to let go and shift the relationship with your father within you, not that he has shifted his relationship with you? When did you say, you know what, I need to process what I need to process, and I need to shift my relationship with him? When did that happen, and what was the process for you to come to that place as the adult?
Yeah, man. And what a process it's been, like we're all sharing here tonight. You know, one of the big key moments for me, my brother, was when I started to accept that his past mistakes weren't my today. When his past wrongs were not my wrong. Now, I can never change anything that man did or what we experienced as children, but I can change how I either react or respond to what I feel about the situation now. You know, I still see my brother holding a lot of pain from a lot of the stuff that we were experiencing and exposed to. And for me, like I mentioned, when I was able to accept that whatever I experienced from someone else, whether it be my father or anyone else, they weren't my own. That's not what I was choosing to be here right now. So it was over time. Because as that child, yeah, we look up to that role model within our lives. We paint such a big picture of what we wanted to be, that hero that we saw growing up. And I guess through the teenagehood, when I said, you know, I was distracting myself through the alcohol and all the other distractions out there, that I had to really set some values for myself in my life. I really had to paint a picture of what I wanted to see. So I got back to, like I said, those values. I got back to those goals, those intentions that I wanted to see for my life, not for anyone else, even if they are close as they are. And I was personally able to disconnect, cut the energetic tie, the entanglement that not only that I had with that father figure at that particular time in my life, but also the connection that the whole family was exposed to. And for me, that part of the journey is the subtle difference that I was able to really move forward in who you see now. And it may be compared or as opposed to something my brother had witnessed exactly the same, but through his perspective, he's personally still holding on. And that is fine. That's okay. But that's not who I choose to be. So I had to be true to myself.
Can I follow up?
Yeah, brother, please.
What was your process of cutting the energetic ties to your father, to cutting those energetic ties to your father? What was your process doing that?
I taught myself, brother, because there was so much pain, there was so much trauma. I had to wonder to myself and really start to see where that trauma is kept within my life. You know, I learned about the subconscious mind. I learned about emotions. I learned about all of those other things, why they keep coming back up in my life. And when I was able to learn those deeper things, like I said, that darkness we always talk about, it's a very symbolic word for the subconscious mind. And I really, really say this to my brothers and sisters that may be watching this, that emotional darkness, that baggage that we hold on to, and we keep telling ourselves that story. Whether it's your own past mistakes, missteps, or mistakes like we've mentioned tonight, or whether it's someone else's, they really don't have to be today's prison. So cut the cord, my brothers and sisters. Move on with your life that you want to live. Bring that subconscious conscious. And really, the true reward out of all this, my brothers and sisters, it's the freedom. It really is.
What do you think of that, Ev? Katrina says, I had to stop seeing him as my father, but as a hurt adult child.
Beautiful. And that's pure awareness.
It takes, hey, Katrina, how long did it take you to get to that place where you could see that? Because that's a process that we are, whether we know it or not, we're moving towards to get to that place, that to see that our parents have their shame, their judgment, their wounding too.
Mm.
Just when we move into the adult, they can see that through the healing process.
Mm.
So
Katrina says for her, it started in her teens, but I like what you said. Our parents' pain can be turned into an energy drink. Does that fall under toxic cocktail or?
Oh, it's one energetic drink, all right, sister. Wow. Yeah.
It's so true when we wrap compassion. You know,
Yeah.
they don't know what they don't know.
Mm.
We're all doing the best we can with what we know at the time, including myself. When
Mhm.
I did and said those things that I'm now beating myself up for. It's
exactly.
Mm. And we do really have these beautiful tools today. So, you know, the fact that we're here talking, 3 beautiful men in one room, another brother on the other side of the pond, the fact that we're able to speak about it today, that is the true healing.
Mm.
Thank you, Evis Love Heath, bringing it home one more time. Across the pond, we call the land down under. All right, I'm up.
Oh, I've got to give it to one of you brothers there. You're sitting in the energy of the great himself. J. Roth, the man. What are you feeling for the brother?
I'm feeling Josh here.
really. I was hoping you'd take this away.
You know, we've never really heard about a lot of Jay's dad. And keeping in the theme of 4 men and the masculine energy being the energy that models for most men, not most men, all men, the assertive energy, the aggressive energy. Dad is a major model for us moving out into the world and where we're showing up in the world, how we show up in the world, and how we find our place in the world. And we were talking about how important that has been to all of us and how we've healed a lot of that. So, buddy,
What's the question?
how has your relationship with Dad moved you into those places that you're not in anymore? That were modeled for you by Dad, and now you're undoing.
Let me pause on that for a moment here. You know, it's interesting. It's a beautiful question. It's actually pretty brilliant, Fasano. My mom.
So I'm not all, good looks.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's for the after show. You know, it's interesting because there's no doubt my mom had a greater influence on impact on my life than my dad. My dad was a quiet warrior. And I didn't understand my dad. And I think on a subconscious level, I held my dad responsible as an adult, as a young adult. I was angry. Because I didn't really know my dad. I knew the man he wanted me to know, but I don't feel like I knew my dad. I knew my dad as that disciplinarian. I knew my dad with very strong belief systems. My dad has since passed 4.5 years or so ago. And it really wasn't until I started really deep diving into to self-discovery, of exploring. Where did I come from? Who am I? And it really wasn't until I made amends to my father 5 weeks before he passed for my role in our relationship that was confusing. And I've said this to my two of my sons, maybe all three most recently, is that if they should outlive me, ask me all the questions now. Whatever you want to ask me about my life, the good, the bad, the ugly. Because I never got to ask my dad those questions. Now, my mom is still alive. She watches the show. Mom, I love you. I forgive you. And I know you forgive me. But I could ask you those questions, but it's not the same because it's just going to be your story, your interpretation of the man you loved, my father. But it's not his words. I never got to ask my dad those hard questions. I wasn't ready. I didn't even know what to ask because I was living in that internal bondage of anger and resentment and resistance and in a conflict, all based around a narrative that I had created with my dad in our relationship. And so I invite you to do what I just done with my own three sons. And my oldest boy, just last week, we spent a couple hours together alone. And he started to ask me some questions. And I hope he continues. And I hope my other sons continue. You know, it's these are tears of gratitude, not sadness. Gratitude because, like Ev, I'm choosing to break the chain for my sons. Now, whether or not they take advantage of that and come to me and ask me the questions, that's up to them. But I've opened my heart to them and invited them in. And the other thing I've done with my three sons that I don't recall my dad doing with me is to ask them today, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? So that we could heal together. My relationship with my dad is different today. When I want to connect, I connect. I know what music to put on. I'm in nature by myself. And I'll talk to my dad. I let him know how I feel about him today. I'm able to honor my dad today and respect him. And even understand him in a way I never could. I love my dad. It's taken a long time to come home. This is what forgiveness is about. I remember my dad could barely move. He was at the end of 15 years of the disease of Alzheimer's. And I was bedside and asked my dad for forgiveness, and he couldn't really do anything. He was at the end. But he raised his arm up to my shoulder, and he tapped on my shoulder blade 3 times. I was bawling. I know he heard me then, and I know he hears me now. That's what forgiveness is. It's possible. All we have to do is show up and grow up. I hope I answered your question. I don't even know what you asked me.
I just learned a
Jeff,
lot.
get in here.
I just learned a lot right there. Here we are.
Look at those beautiful gentlemen there. Absolutely magic.
I'm putting my arm out right now because this is where Ev would be.
Yeah.
Josh, you have to do it over this side, brother. There you go. I feel like I'm in there with the boys.
Well, we're coming up on 156.
Holy
Wow.
cow.
We got 4 minutes. We might as well round it out. This why not? You know what the heck? We're doing this. We're doing this because we love what we do. We're doing this because we're sharing our life journey. Every once in a while, I'll meet a man that doesn't understand, that has no freaking idea what the hell we do. And then they push back and they challenge us. And that's okay. They're not ready. This is right here what love is. This is brotherly love.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a brother in my life. I didn't know what it could feel like to love another man. I know what it feels like today. And it's beautiful. It's love. And I don't have conditions for Josh or Jeff or Ev. I only have one request every week. Show up and be real. Be vulnerable. We're only as sick as our secrets. And this is not a sick room. Not here, not now, not today. I hope our viewers heard something tonight. I hope you heard something tonight that begins your healing journey of forgiveness for someone that may have hurt you at your soul, at your core, at your heart. And so with that, we have a fire alarm going on. So here's
Wow, man.
to put a pretty bow in the show.
Oh, wow.
I love you guys. We'll see you next week. Peace and blessings. Ev, we love you.
Wish you
Love
were
you,
here.
brothers. Please check out what that alarm is.
Peace and blessings.
All right.